Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be having a little bit of an overview of some of the larger themes of the month of March 2024, and then also bring your attention to one aspect this week, which is Venus square Uranus. So what's really interesting about March is that we get some of the bigger movers on the chessboard are making their moves. So firstly, we have Saturn moves 4 degrees throughout the course of March. And while you might think, okay, what's the big deal about that? But when you think about how Saturn in Pisces has behaved thus far, in 2023, it only moved 8 degrees. And so just in one calendar month, it's moved half that distance again. And so this is one significant theme for H1 of 2024 overall, is just how fast Saturn moves comparatively to how it moved last year in the early part of Pisces. So if you have planets or angles or, planetary points at 9 to 13 degrees of Pisces, you're going to be, or the other mutable signs, you're going to be experiencing that pressure testing, or, that sort of the kind of rock and a hard place situation that Saturn transits can bring. So particularly with the mutable signs, it's really about sort of tidying up energy, reducing distraction, and kind of just getting focused overall. Of course, that's going to be different for everybody, depending on your life, your chart, and all the things. Another interesting factor of the month of March is what Uranus is doing. It's finally getting off 19 Taurus. I'm kind of happy about that. Uranus has been at 19 Taurus since about December 11. So finally it's moving to 20 degrees and obviously moving towards the position it's going to hold next month in April when Jupiter catches up with it at 21, nearly 22 Taurus, and has that sort of exciting conjunction. So we're definitely going to get some Uranian rumbles this month as it starts to move off a position it's held in the sky for, several months now. Neptune also kind of sort of breaks new territory in March, and that's the fact that it moves to 27 degrees. Now, it has been at 27 Pisces already. In fact, that was the station retrograde degree that Neptune hit at the very end of June 2023. So it's station retrograde at 27 Pisces, and now it's returned to 27 Pisces. And of course, it's going to be making a beeline for 28 at the beginning of April, and that's definitely new territory for Neptune. And of course, not to be outdone, Pluto in Aquarius hits the first, well, technically the second, but 1 degree of Aquarius. That is by far, hands down, very brand new territory, considering it's actually been hundreds of years since Pluto has occupied that space in the sky. So this is going to be a big deal, particularly if you have planets or points at 1 degree of any of the fixed signs, possibly even 2 degrees. You're going to be starting to feel the heaviness and the weight of Pluto's influence. And so while these big moving pieces on the chessboard are, kind of making their moves, as I've already mentioned, it feels like March is very much a preparatory month. It is preparing us to for the month of April. The month of April is massive, no question about that. And even though technically speaking, March is certainly not as dramatic. Yes, there's an eclipse at the end, but it's these moving pieces that are kind of setting things up for some of the changes that are just going to keep on rocking on throughout April and beyond into the rest of 2024. So I guess with that type of picture being painted, it's kind of like, get ready, strap yourself in. There's going to be a lot of shifting pieces, sort of March, April, and beyond. Now, the aspect I wanted to bring to your attention that happens in the first week of March is the square between Venus and Uranus. That happens on the 3rd, and it happens at 19 Aquarius, Taurus. Obviously, Uranus being in Taurus. So this is an interesting configuration because Mars and Venus have just conjoined, and that happened at the end of February, February 22. And now they're starting to separate somewhat. And Venus is the first planet out of the two to square Uranus. So it's almost like some of the perhaps agreements, deals, negotiations, or pacts made between Venus and Mars are not going to hold as we move into this first week of March. So I think I mentioned this aspect happens on the 3rd. And so it's almost like Venus is breaking ranks here. She's deciding, hey, I know I said I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do that instead. So she's, going to explore new territory in a sense, which is what Venus Uranus wants to do. It doesn't, when we think about Venus in Aquarius, whenever I think about the energy of Aquarius, I always hear the word in my mind, should. You should do this, you should do that, you should think this way. There's a lot of shoulds with that energy of Aquarius. And that's where Venus is right now. She's thinking, I should do this, I should do that. I've made this agreement with Mars just a week or two ago, not even. But now I'm sort of feeling a little bit itchy, scratchy, and I'm not sure I want to keep that agreement anymore. So when she squares Uranus, there's something, a spark, there's something exciting, there's something fresh, there's something new, there's something different. And maybe the realization is, hey, I don't want to do what I thought I should do. And that's where some of that liberating Uranian energy comes from. It's like, who said I should do this? Who said that these rules even apply to me to start with? And this is the interesting paradox when we're talking about Aquarius, is because you can't resist, you can't rebel, you can't do anything different if the rules aren't already set or if the status quo isn't already established. So that's the interesting paradigm here, because, the Saturn energy that is Capricorn wants to stay inside the rules and inside Saturn's rings, whereas Aquarius is like, well, F those rings. I'm just not going to play by your rules. I'm not politically correct, whatever the thing might be. But she's still, the Aquarian energy still needs the rules. What's the point of rebelling if there's nothing to rebel against? And so, Venus is, starting to kind of double down on this. And I love the idea, particularly when we're dealing with the square. The square between Venus and Uranus is showing where there's friction, where there's agitation, where whatever that status quo is no longer satisfying. It's no longer, it no longer feels comfortable. And so the square is that adjustment, that need to do something different. It's a risk. And one of my favorite quotes, or this idea, is that sometimes the greatest risk is not to take a risk at all. And that's sometimes challenging for fixed signs, because they do like the status quo. They do like what is familiar, what is safe, and what is comfortable for them. It's also interesting that Venus is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn has just conjoined the Sun. And so this is, I've discussed a lot about that in my previous video, but this might again see that idea of the commitment, the agreement, the new systems, structures, plans put in place that all felt kind of hunky-dory then. And now a little bit of time has passed, and there might be that, hang on a minute, I know I agreed to this, with the Sun-Saturn conjunction with Mercury, with Mars and Venus coming together. I know I sort of said this and I agreed to that and blah, blah, blah. But now it's like, can we make an adjustment? And that's the challenge with the square. Do you just kind of go and, drop a proverbial bomb, so to speak, or do you act in a more mature fashion and go, how can we kind of make some deal or agreement that is obviously a contradiction to what I've already agreed upon, but can we come together under new agreements, new circumstances, or a new arrangement? So there is a little bit of an exploration vibe here. It is a little bit coloring outside the lines with whatever Venus rules in your life, particularly the house of Aquarius, which is where she's living right now. So there is this invitation to do something a little bit new, a little bit unique or different, and being a little bit outside the comfort zone. Because when you think about it, the comfort zone isn't all that comfortable. We also have to think about what's coming up, and that is that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which is going to happen in April. And so the territory is really being primed for change. That change, if you don't choose it, then happens to you, and then you no longer get to choose it. So there is a little bit of perhaps the fate free will question coming through here, where if you sense that the goalposts are moving in a certain area of life, but you're kind of digging in your heels, or you're relying on the idea of how things should be, then maybe this is your invitation to go, okay, this may be a stretch. It might be beyond a comfort zone, beyond a limitation, beyond what I'm comfortable with being, doing, or whatever. But the square is kind of saying, well, challenge yourself, see what you can do, color outside the lines, go on a limb, stick the middle finger up if that's what's required, because sometimes it's more fun to be someone's shot of whiskey than everyone's cup of tea. So that might be the invitation there. Path less traveled type of stuff. So that's and just something to think about as we move into March. Those big players on the chessboard are making significant moves, and Venus is also breaking ranks in the first week of March. So I hope you enjoyed this update. I'm looking forward to bringing you plenty more. But if you'd like a deeper dive into the month of March, the Golden Circle is where I offer all my videos for the month of March. There's a lot of resources there to guide you through that month, community, new moon catch-ups, and a lot of chat inside the Golden Circle app as well. So if you'd like to become a member, it'd be amazing to have you there. And all of those details are posted in the link underneath this video. Bye for now.